Humphrey Bogart names the 6 most beautiful actresses he ever met. In 1953, Humphrey Bogart almost got fired by Warner Brothers. Not because he hit anyone, not because he was drunk, but because he answered one question too honestly. A reporter asked, "Who's the most beautiful woman you've ever worked with?" Bogart replied, "Beautiful? You're asking the wrong question." And what he said next, Warner Brothers wanted to erase from history. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jack Sterling. Today we're going to talk about an interview that Hollywood tried to bury because it exposed a truth they didn't want you to know. March 1953, San Pedro Bay, California. Bogart was standing on his boat, the Santana, his escape from Hollywood. He was 53 years old, peak of his career, fresh off winning the Oscar for The African Queen. A young reporter from Photoplay magazine asked the standard question, "Mr. Bogart, who's the most beautiful actress you've ever worked with?" Most stars would name their current co-star. Safe, polite, nobody gets offended. But Bogart? He looked straight at that reporter and said, "Beautiful? You're asking the wrong question. Beauty is what Hollywood sells. It's what they put on posters to get people into theaters. Ask me who I respect. Ask me who has class. Because this town is full of beautiful women. But women with backbone? There are exactly 6. That reporter almost didn't print this quote because it contradicted everything Hollywood was selling to America about beauty, glamour, and what makes a woman worth looking at. Over the next 25 minutes, I'm going to show you Bogart's list of 6. Bette Davis, who faced down Jack Warner and bet her entire career on integrity. Ingrid Bergman, who made Bogart feel like a fraud just by being kind. Ava Gardner, who drank whiskey, danced barefoot, and refused to let Hollywood package her. Katharine Hepburn, who Hollywood called box office poison, but survived 50 years through pure stubbornness. Audrey Hepburn, who taught Bogart about grace after he treated her terribly. And Lauren Bacall, Bogart's wife, who he couldn't put on the list. And the reason will make you understand the difference between Hollywood romance and real love. But here's what fascinates me most. The first person on the list, Bette Davis, Hollywood told her she was too masculine to be a leading lady. The studios wanted her to get facial surgery to look more feminine. She refused and became one of the greatest stars of all time. So what did Bogart see that Hollywood didn't? Let's begin. And trust me, this isn't a list of pretty faces. This is a lesson about what real beauty looks like when it's attached to character, courage, and substance.
Please don't ask me to talk. He'll kill me.
Now you help me to prove that he was responsible for this, and I'll put him where he won't kill anybody.
You don't know what he's like. He stops at nothing.
Number 1. Bette Davis, the woman who said no. The first person Bogart named was Bette Davis. And before you think, oh, of course, Bette Davis is an icon, let me tell you the story Bogart told that reporter that day. Because it wasn't about her acting. It was about what she did morally. 1937. Bogart was nobody. Just a contract player at Warner Brothers, making $75 a week, getting shot by Edward G. Robinson in B movies over and over. Bette Davis? She was already a star. 2 Oscars, face on every magazine. The kind of actress who could replace a director with one phone call. One day on the set of Marked Woman, Bogart witnessed something he'd never seen before. Jack Warner, the man who owned Warner Brothers, the man who could end your career with one phone call, told Bette she needed to play a scene differently. Make her character more sympathetic, more feminine. Bette looked at him, and I mean looked at him. The way you'd look at a cockroach that just crawled onto your dinner plate and said, "Jack, I don't do sympathetic. I do real. If you want a woman who smiles while men make decisions for her, hire a mannequin. I hear they work for free." The entire soundstage went silent. You could hear people holding their breath. Because nobody, and I mean nobody, talked to Jack Warner like that. Warner's face turned red. "You're under contract, Betty. You'll do what I tell you or you'll be suspended." Betty picked up her purse, walked toward the exit, stopped, turned around and said, "Then suspend me, Jack, because I'd rather be unemployed than be a liar." She walked off the set. 3 days later, Warner rewrote the scene, Betty's way. Now, let me tell you why this matters. If you worked in the 1960s, 70s, maybe in a factory, an office, anywhere with a boss, you know that feeling. When he tells you to do something you know is wrong, and you have to choose, bend your back or fight back and face the consequences. Most of us, including me, would bend. Because we have bills to pay. We have families. We can't afford to be unemployed. But Bette Davis? She bet her entire career on her integrity, and she won. Bogart told that reporter, "Every man on that lot, myself included, watched Betty do what we were all too scared to do. She existed, not because she was beautiful. She existed because she had spine." And here's the dark truth Hollywood doesn't want you to know. Warner Brothers had 7-year contracts. That meant they owned you. They decided what movies you made. They decided who you dated. They even arranged contract marriages to cover up scandals. They decided where you appeared, how you dressed, what you said. It's like you sold your soul for fame. And if you violated the contract, they would suspend you, meaning you don't work, you don't earn money, but the contract still runs. You're frozen in your career. Bette Davis was suspended 3 times. Each time, she won. So when Bogart put Betty at the top of his list, he wasn't talking about her high cheekbones or beautiful eyes. He was talking about watching a woman choose truth over safety. Every single time. That's the kind of beauty you can't buy. You earn it by refusing to be bought.
I'm sorry, but you are our last hope. If you don't help us, Victor Laszlo will die in Casablanca.
Number 2. Ingrid Bergman, The Mirror. The second person on Bogart's list was Ingrid Bergman. And this story is harder to tell. Bogart told that reporter, "Ingrid made me feel like a fraud. Not because she tried to, but because real goodness, not the Hollywood kind, it exposes everything fake about you just by existing." 1942, Casablanca set. On screen, Rick and Ilsa's love story would become the most romantic film ever made. Off screen, Bogart was living in hell. His wife at the time, Mayo Method, was violently jealous. She called the set every night, screaming accusations, showing up drunk, throwing things. Bogart was drinking heavily just to cope. He was ashamed, exhausted, convinced this is what he deserved. One evening after filming the "As Time Goes By" scene, one of the most romantic moments in cinema history, Ingrid approached him. Bogart thought she'd talk about the scene, about the film. That's what actors do. Instead, she looked at him with those luminous eyes and said quietly, "Bogey, are you all right? You look tired. Is there anything I can do to help?" Bogart later told his friend John Huston, "That question broke something in me. Here's the most famous actress in the world, and she's asking if I, a guy playing a cynical bar owner, am okay?" In Hollywood, nobody asks that. They gossip. They use your problems against you. But Ingrid? She just cared. Not for publicity, not for leverage. She genuinely wanted to know if I was okay. And standing there, I realized, I'm standing next to someone who's actually good. Like, genuinely good. And I'm a mess. A fraud playing a romantic hero while my real life is falling apart. Now, let me explain why Bogart called Ingrid the Mirror. There's a big difference between niceness and kindness. Niceness is when you're polite to someone because you want them to like you. It's a transaction. You smile, you say the right things, you avoid conflict. Kindness is when you care about someone even when it doesn't benefit you, even when nobody's watching, even when that person can't repay you. Ingrid Bergman didn't ask Bogart that question in front of the crew. She didn't ask to impress anyone. She asked because she saw someone suffering, and she wanted to help. Bogart said, "Ingrid's beauty wasn't in her face, though she had the most beautiful face I've ever seen. Her beauty was in her goodness. And that's a dangerous kind of beauty, kid. Because when you're around someone truly good, you see every way you're not. And here's the dark truth. Hollywood doesn't reward kindness. They reward usefulness." If you can sell tickets through beauty, through scandal, through drama, they'll keep you. But if you're just a good person, they'll replace you with someone more interesting. Ingrid Bergman survived because she was talented and kind. But trust me, if she was only kind, she would have been forgotten. Bogart later admitted to John Huston, "I never told Ingrid about that. I was too ashamed." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why a truly kind person is so dangerous. They make you look in the mirror and ask yourself hard questions.
Please tell me why my happy heart keeps repeating.
Number 3. Ava Gardner, the Untamed. The third person on the list, and Bogart's voice changed when he talked about her, got warmer, more admiring, was Ava Gardner. Bogart said, "And if you write this wrong, kid, I'll throw you off this boat." 1954, Rome, Italy. The Barefoot Contessa set. Ava had just finished a very public separation from Frank Sinatra. The tabloids were brutal. Ava the homewrecker, out of control, headed for destruction. The studio PR department wanted her to issue an apology, clean up her image, play the reformed woman who'd learned her lesson. Ava told them, and I'm cleaning this up for print, to perform an anatomically impossible act. One night in Rome, the entire cast went to dinner at an upscale restaurant. Every female star wore designer gowns, sat with perfect posture, smiled for photographers. Ava showed up in a simple black dress, kicked off her heels under the table, ordered whiskey, not wine, whiskey. And when a local jazz band started playing, she got up and danced. Not elegant ballroom dancing, real dancing. The kind where you actually feel the music instead of performing for cameras. One of the producers pulled Bogart aside, furious. "You need to control her. She's embarrassing the production. The press is taking photos." Bogart looked at this man, this soft, frightened man who'd never had an honest moment in his life, and said, "Buddy, Ava's not embarrassing herself. She's living. You should try it before you forget how." Later that night, Bogart bought Ava a drink. He said, "You know they're going to write terrible things about tonight, right?" Ava laughed. "Bogey, they're going to write terrible things no matter what I do, so I might as well dance." Bogart told that reporter, "People call Ava wild. They mean it as an insult. But wild doesn't mean out of control. It means untamed. It means Hollywood hasn't turned you into a product yet. Ava drinks because she wants to, not to be edgy. She dances because she feels it, not for Instagram. Well, we didn't have Instagram, but you know what I mean. She lives on her terms and pays the price without complaining." And let me explain why this matters. In the 1950s, women were taught to behave properly. Sit with your knees together. Smile demurely. Don't drink hard liquor. Don't speak too loudly. Don't draw attention. That's how society and Hollywood kept women manageable. If you followed the rules, you were acceptable. If you broke them, you were trouble. Ava Gardner broke every single one of those rules, and Hollywood hated her for it. But they needed her because audiences loved her. Audiences saw a woman living free, and in a world where everyone felt trapped by marriage, by jobs, by expectations, Ava was a breath of freedom. Bogart said, "In a town where everyone's selling themselves, Ava refused to be merchandise. That's not wild. That's honest. And honesty, kid, that's the rarest kind of beauty in Hollywood." And here's the dark truth. Studios never forgive people who don't follow the script. They can make money from you, but they'll punish you by paying you less, by giving you worse roles, by leaking bad stories to the press. Ava Gardner knew that, and she still chose freedom. That's the kind of courage most of us will never have.
Yes, Mr. Allnut.
How'd you like it?
Like it?
White water, rapid.
I never dreamed.
I don't blame you for being...
Number 4. Katharine Hepburn, The Survivor. The fourth person on Bogart's list, and his voice got more serious when he talked about her, was Katharine Hepburn. Bogart said, "Kate saved my life. Literally." He paused. This was harder to talk about. 1951. Congo, Africa. The African Queen filming. This was one of the most brutal film shoots in Hollywood history. The entire crew contracted dysentery from contaminated water. People were collapsing. The director wanted to shut down production. Only 2 people stayed healthy. Bogart, because he drank nothing but whiskey, and Katharine Hepburn, because she was, in Bogart's words, built out of iron and discipline. One night, Bogart woke up in his tent, feverish, delirious. He'd caught it, the dysentery. He found Kate sitting beside his cot. She'd been there for 3 hours, holding a wet cloth to his forehead, making sure he didn't choke if he vomited. Bogart mumbled, "Kate, you should rest. You'll get sick," she said, and Bogart never forgot this. "Bogey, you're the only man on this set who doesn't pretend to be tough. That makes you worth saving." Bogart never told anyone that story while Kate was alive. Lauren Bacall found it written in his personal journal years after he passed. He'd written, "Kate saved my life that night, not from illness, from up." Bogart told that reporter, "Kate has the sharpest cheekbones in Hollywood, like they were carved with a knife. But that's not why she's beautiful. She's beautiful because she survived." Hollywood called her box office poison. Critics said she was too masculine, too opinionated, too much. And she looked them all in the eye and said, "I don't care what you think. I know who I am." Then she proved it for 40 years. Film after film, never softening, never compromising, never pretending to be something she wasn't. And let me tell you something most people don't know about Katharine Hepburn. In 1938, a group of theater owners voted. They named Kate box office poison, meaning her movies didn't make money. They told the studios, "Don't hire her anymore." Her career was over. At age 31, most actors would quit, or they would change, soften themselves, become more likable, apologize for existing. What did Kate do? She bought the rights to a play, The Philadelphia Story, with her own money. She starred in it on Broadway. It was a massive hit. Then she sold it back to Hollywood with one condition. Only she could star in the film version. That film was nominated for 6 Oscars. Her career was resurrected. And from 1938 to 1981, 43 years, Katharine Hepburn made movies, never stopped, never compromised, never apologized. She won 4 Oscars, more than anyone else in history. Bogart said, "That kind of beauty, the beauty of endurance, of surviving decades of people telling you you're not enough. You can't fake that. You can't buy it. You earn it by refusing to quit. Ever." The reporter asked, "Did you ever thank her for saving your life?" Bogart looked away. "No, I should have. But Kate didn't do things to be thanked. She did them because they were right. And here's the dark truth. Hollywood bets on you giving up. They don't fire you directly. They just make it hard. They stop calling. They give you bad roles. They spread rumors that you're difficult to work with. They wait for you to leave on your own. Katharine Hepburn saw that strategy and didn't leave. She stayed for 50 years until they had to admit they were wrong. That's the kind of victory most of us will never see, because most of us aren't stubborn enough to wait that long.
I'm so ashamed, Linus.
You have no reason to be.
Number 5. Audrey Hepburn, Grace Under Fire. The fifth person on Bogart's list, and his voice got quiet, almost ashamed, was Audrey Hepburn. Bogart said, "And this is the story I'm least proud of." 1953. Sabrina set. Bogart wanted his wife, Lauren Bacall, to play Sabrina, but the studio chose Audrey, a 24-year-old with one major film to her name. Bogart was furious, and he took it out on Audrey. He showed up late. He refused to look at her during scenes. He complained loudly to the director. "This girl is too thin, too inexperienced. She can't carry a film." Audrey knew. The entire crew knew. But she never responded with anger, never complained, never made it about her. She just showed up earlier than everyone else, learned her lines perfectly, and remained unfailingly kind to every person on that set. One day, an older grip, a crew member, collapsed from heat exhaustion. Everyone panicked. Audrey immediately knelt beside him, used her own water bottle to cool him down, held his hand, talked to him calmly until the medic arrived. Bogart watched from across the set. Director Billy Wilder walked over and said, "Bogey, you can hate her for taking the role your wife wanted, but you can't hate her for who she is, because that girl has more class than most stars have in their entire career." Something shifted in Bogart that day. For the rest of the shoot, he was professional, kind. He helped Audrey with her scenes, defended her to the studio. On the last day of filming, Bogart walked up to Audrey in front of the entire crew. He said, "Audrey, I was wrong about you. I was cruel, and I'm sorry. You're going to be a star not because you're beautiful, though you are, but because you have something this business can't teach. Grace." Audrey said, "Mr. Bogart, I forgive you." Bogart shook his head. "Don't forgive me yet. Let me earn it." Bogart told that reporter, "That's when I learned. Real beauty isn't about fighting back when someone attacks you. It's about maintaining your dignity when everyone expects you to sink to their level." And let me explain why this matters. In life, there will be people who treat you badly, not because you did anything wrong, but because they're hurting. They're angry. They're wrestling with something that has nothing to do with you. And when that happens, you have two choices. Choice 1, fight back, get nasty, make it a war. Choice 2, keep your dignity, stay kind, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve to be the kind of person who doesn't let others change you. Audrey Hepburn chose option 2, every day, for 6 months. And eventually, Bogart had to see it, and it changed him. Bogart said, "Anyone can fight. It takes real strength to stay kind. Audrey taught me that, and I'll spend the rest of my life grateful for the lesson." And here's the dark truth. Hollywood loves drama. They love when stars hate each other because it creates headlines. It sells magazines. It gets people talking. In fact, sometimes studios deliberately create conflict between actors. They'll tell actor A that actor B said something terrible about them, even when it's not true, just to create tension on set. Why? Because tension creates chemistry on screen, and it creates free PR. Audrey Hepburn refused to play that game. She kept her dignity even when it would have been easier not to. That's the kind of strength Hollywood can't buy and can't destroy.
I'm so ashamed, Linus.
You have no reason to be.
Number 6. Lauren Bacall. Home. By this point in the interview, the reporter had written down 5 names: Bette Davis, Ingrid Bergman, Ava Gardner, Katharine Hepburn, Audrey Hepburn. He looked at Bogart, confused. "Mr. Bogart, you said 6 women. What about your wife, Lauren Bacall?" Bogart went completely silent. For 30 seconds, he didn't speak, just stared out at the water, smoking his cigarette. The reporter thought he'd offended him. He started to apologize. Bogart held up his hand. "No, it's a fair question." He took a breath. "I can't put Bette on this list." The reporter didn't understand. "Why not? She's one of the most—" "Because," Bogart interrupted, "the other 5 women, I admire them. I respect them. They taught me what beauty means when it's connected to character. But Bette?" He paused. "I don't admire her. I need her. The way you need air. The way you need water. You don't admire air, kid. You can't live without it." He turned to face the reporter directly. "Let me tell you about the first day I met Bette. February 1944. To have and have not set. I was 44 years old. 3 failed marriages behind me. Drinking too much. Cynical. Convinced that love was just another Hollywood con. Something we sold in movies but didn't actually exist. Then this 19-year-old girl walked onto set for her first major film. Lauren Bacall. I didn't think much of it. Another starlet. Another pretty face trying to make it in Hollywood. I'd seen 1,000 of them. But then came the scene. The one that changed everything. She had to deliver the line. You know how to whistle, don't you? You just put your lips together and blow. The cameras started rolling, and Bette was terrified. She was shaking so badly she couldn't control her neck, so she did something instinctive. She pressed her chin down to her chest to stop the shaking, then looked up at me through her eyelashes. That look. The look that made her famous. It wasn't acting. It was a young girl trying desperately not to fall apart. And I saw it. I saw her. Not an actress trying to be seductive, but a person trying to be brave. Something broke open in me that I didn't know was still capable of breaking. Bogart's voice got quieter, more vulnerable than the reporter had ever heard him. Over the next 4 months, we fell in love. Not the Hollywood kind, the terrifying kind. The kind that makes you leave your 3rd marriage. The kind that makes you marry someone 25 years younger and accept that everyone thinks you've lost your mind. We got married May 21st, 1945. Private ceremony in Ohio. The press gave us 6 months. Kid, we've been married 8 years. And those 8 years are the only time in my entire life I've felt alive instead of just acting like I'm alive. Bette didn't just change how I see beauty. She changed how I see myself. He stubbed out his cigarette. The 5 women I named, they taught me that beauty requires courage, goodness, freedom, survival, and grace. But Bette taught me the final lesson. Beauty means finding someone who sees your worst, your cynicism, your scars, your failures, and doesn't just love you anyway. They love you because of it. She sees the man I actually am, not the character I play, not the image Hollywood sells. Me. The difficult, stubborn, broken me. And she doesn't try to fix me. She doesn't try to change me. She just chooses me. Every morning. For 8 years. That's not beauty you can photograph. That's not beauty you can put in a movie. That's the kind of beauty that only exists in real life, between 2 people who actually see each other. The reporter was quiet for a moment, then asked, So why can't she be on the list? Bogart smiled. Not the cynical smile, but something softer, more honest. Because the other 5 women are comparable to each other. You can rank them, compare them. Each one represents a different facet of beauty. But Betty? She's not a facet. She's the entire goddamn category. She's not beautiful the way a sunset is beautiful, something you admire from a distance. She's beautiful the way home is beautiful. You don't admire home. You can't survive without it. If I put her on a list with other women, I'm saying she's one option among many. She's not. She's the only option. The only choice. The only person. So no, Betty's not on the list. She's the reason the list exists. The reporter didn't write that down. He couldn't. His hands were shaking. Years later, he'd say that was the moment he understood the difference between Hollywood romance and real love. Hollywood romance is what you put on screen to sell tickets. Real love is what you can barely talk about without your voice breaking. And Bogart's voice broke when he talked about Betty. What we lost. Now, if you've watched this entire video, here's what I need you to understand. This isn't just a story about Humphrey Bogart and 6 actresses from Hollywood's golden age. This is about the difference between beauty as performance and beauty as truth. And that difference? It's disappeared from modern culture like smoke. Look at what's happened since Bogart gave that interview in 1953. In Bogart's era, beauty meant Bette Davis risking her career for integrity, Ingrid Bergman's genuine kindness, Ava Gardner refusing to be packaged and sold, Katharine Hepburn surviving decades of rejection, Audrey Hepburn maintaining grace under attack, Lauren Bacall being someone's home. What does beauty mean in 2025? Filters that erase your actual face, cosmetic surgery to look like everyone else, curated social media feeds where nothing is real, influencers who are famous for existing, beauty that lasts until the algorithm changes. The difference isn't just aesthetic, it's moral. Bogart's definition of beauty required decades of living, making hard choices, surviving failure, building character through time and pain, and refusing to quit. Modern beauty requires a good camera and the willingness to lie about your life online. Bogart's beauty was earned. Modern beauty is purchased. And here's what breaks my heart. If you're watching this video and you're over 50, you remember when beauty had substance, when stars weren't just faces, but craftsmen who earned their place through 40 years of work. You watched Bette Davis in the 1940s. You saw Ingrid Bergman in Casablanca. You witnessed Katharine Hepburn's entire career. And now you're watching your grandchildren worship people who will be forgotten in 6 months. That's not their fault. They don't know any better, because we haven't shown them better. We haven't preserved these stories. We haven't explained why Bogart's definition matters. We've let Hollywood, modern Hollywood, convince an entire generation that beauty is about looking perfect on Instagram, instead of being someone worth choosing for 40 years. The invitation. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Not requesting, asking. First, share this video with someone your age. Not with your grandkids, they won't understand yet. They need to live more first. Share it with someone who remembers, who sat in a movie theater in 1954 and watched Sabrina, who understands what we've lost. Because this video isn't for the algorithm, it's for your generation. And if we don't share these stories with each other, they die with us. Second, leave one memory in the comments. Tell me, which of these actresses did you watch growing up? What film made you fall in love with old Hollywood? What do you miss most about when stars had class instead of followers? Your memories are just as valuable as Bogart's, maybe more, because you lived it. You were there. Third, tell me who to cover next. I'm building a collection of these stories, preserving what Hollywood was before it became what it is now. Should I cover James Stewart, Cary Grant, Grace Kelly, Barbara Stanwyck, the real Frank Sinatra? Not the legend, but the man? Tell me in the comments. Because these videos exist for one reason: to make sure that when you're gone, these stories don't disappear with you. And one final thing. If you found someone in your life like Bogart found Lauren Bacall, someone who taught you what real beauty means, someone who became your home instead of just your partner, leave their first name in the comments. Just the first name, nothing else. Because sometimes the most beautiful thing we can do is acknowledge the people who saved us. Just like Betty saved Bogey. Humphrey Bogart once said, "I made a lot of movies, played a lot of tough guys, but the toughest thing I ever did was admit I needed someone." If you remember a Hollywood where stars weren't afraid to be human, where beauty meant more than being flawless, where love meant choosing someone every day for decades instead of swiping until you find someone better, then this channel is for you. Because we're not here to chase trends. We're not here to go viral. We're here to preserve what mattered. We're here to be the last generation standing between Hollywood's golden age and total amnesia. Welcome to the place where old Hollywood never dies, as long as we're alive to remember it.